Tonight, a stunning admission from Jill Biden about her husband's debate performance. Take a listen.
Were you horrified as you saw it unfold?
I wasn't horrified, I was frightened because I had never, ever seen Joe like that before or since. Never.
Or since?
Yes, or
You've
since.
never seen him like
never.
that?
No.
What happened?
I don't know what happened. I mean, as I watched it, I thought, oh my God, he's having a stroke. And it scared me to death.
That interview comes just weeks before the release of the former First Lady's new memoir, and it's the first time that we've heard her express any concern about that debate that ultimately ended Joe Biden's 2024 campaign. But that stands in stark contrast to what Jill Biden had to say just moments after the debate.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts. And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Lied!
Even Joe Biden seems a little amused by that clip. Jemele, okay, your instant reaction to the Jill Biden overall.
You know, we talked about this a little bit in the last segment. When you lie to people right to their face, they have a tendency to not trust you. Mm-hmm. And, you know, a lot of people knew something was wrong with Joe Biden. I went to a dinner in Detroit, an AACP dinner. He was the guest speaker. His speech was great, but seeing him just make the walk to the stage, I was concerned. I was like, hey, this dude doesn't look right. But I would say that, especially now, as we're looking at a president who often showcases that he is unwell, that we need to apply those same questions that a lot of people had then. People had the right to wonder about Joe Biden's health after seeing that debate, and those questions were fair and they were legitimate. I think the problem is that now those same questions aren't being asked, even though we're seeing things that are just as concerning, if not worse.
Peter, is that fair?
Why the hell are they talking about this again? Why are you coming out with it? It's the same with Karine Jean-Pierre. It's like, do you want to relitigate this? Do you think
she's got a book to sell?
But like, your book's not going to sell well, right? You need a political campaign to be buying up advanced copies to give to donors that you're spending $20 on, and the material costs are $5, right? Like, that's what I do not get.
I mean,
you're not going to win in the full sweep of history.
I appreciate that we now get to see at least some version of a truth that she's putting out there, because I think, yeah, the conversation should be had about the deceptiveness
I think
that was behind this. Like, that's the conversation that I think ought to be had. The autopsy that the Democrats didn't delve into that, and but it should.
Yeah.
What kind of political system covers that up and makes it okay to lie to people about what everybody knows is true?
Well, what I'm concerned about, the thing I'm wondering is what the next question in that interview is, because it ought to be, so why did you lie at the time? And I'm not certain that that's what's going to be asked. If I could wager about this on Polymarket, I probably wouldn't bet in favor of that question being asked, which I think is an indictment of our industry, the people who are asking these questions. I actually think there's a heck of a lot of critical inquiry about the Trump administration today amongst the media elites. The challenge, however, apart from Alex Thompson and Jake Tapper, as they document in their book, there weren't a lot of people asking those sober questions early on about Joe Biden, which is why we did.
I have to say, the beginning, the Wall Street Journal wrote a story about Joe Biden's health that was attacked relentlessly by the Biden White House. That was before the book. That was before all of this postpartum stuff. It was happening in real time. But I mean, is it fair to ask, as Jemele did, are Republicans putting wool over their eyes now too?
I don't think so. Donald Trump goes up there and talks for hours at a time without stopping.
And he falls asleep a lot.
Well, so do I occasionally. That's why I'm drinking Diet Coke, so I can stay awake at the table. But I think the most alarming part, fine, she's got truth serum and she's telling us what she actually thought in the moment. But what I find alarming and hard to believe is this idea that she never saw that before or since from her husband, when everyone else in America and around this world saw a rapidly declining president. I was in Dubrovnik, Croatia, the night of the debate, and I was at an international forum, and to a person before the debate, the question was, 330 million people, and these are the two best you can run for president. Fair point. After the debate, the question was, holy cow, forget running for re-election. Why is that man allowed in the Oval Office? And yet, the wife of the president, the first lady, clearly did not have that level of alarm that people across an ocean had.
All right, we got to leave it there. Next for